Hey guys, today I have 5 tips for you regarding the battle system in Settlers 4. This is part 2 in a 3-part series. In part 1, I focused on how to build an efficient economy. This video is going to be on the battle system, and the third video is going to be on the Dark Tribe. So if you want to catch those, then make sure to subscribe to my channel. Now, if you guys have been following my channel, you know that I've done a playthrough of the Trojan 12 campaign series, and I'm getting ready to do a playthrough of the base game Dark Tribe 12 campaign series. So again, make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. And in doing these 12 maps, I've learned a little bit more about how to do efficient battle. So hopefully I can give you a couple of tips if you're picking up this somewhat old school but super awesome game. The first tip that I have for you is to focus on your offensive and defensive strength. So you can see that by selecting any of your soldiers. You can see down here that my offensive strength here is 141% and my defensive strength is 120%. Well, how does that come into play? Well, when you're outside of your borders like these guys are, that's when you use your offensive strength. You use your defensive strength when you're within your own borders. Now, we all start out with 100% strength when we first start, defensive strength. So when you're first starting out the game, make sure to stay within your own borders because you will be at 100% strength at that time. And usually your offensive strength is something like 60%, like pretty low. So if you try and attack people right away, you're gonna get slaughtered. Now, how do you build your offensive and defensive strength? First of all, let me talk about limits. I believe the defensive maximum is 125%, and the offensive maximum, I want to say is 150. And I don't think it's necessary to get up to the maximum, but definitely I wouldn't venture outside of your own borders until you have at least 100%. Now, in terms of how to build it, the game isn't really quite clear. The top 2 methods that I found is to build eye catchers. So that's in here. You can see all your eye catchers. I don't exactly know which ones. They're not uniform in how they build your strength. I think it has something to do with the resources that you use, but I would just pay attention to which resources you have. You can see that the ratio of wood, stone, and gold is different. So if you have more resources available in one of those 3 than others, then you kind of want to pick eye catchers that make sense. So as you can see here, I have a ton of eye catchers, 71. And so 71 got me up to 140% about attack strength. In the beginning, each eye catcher is worth a ton of increase, and then as you get closer to 150%, it's definitely getting diminished returns. But I would plan to build probably at least 30 or 40 at a minimum. The other thing that really helps your offensive and defensive strength is these residences. Now, in the beginning, when you are short of resources, definitely feel free to remove these residences as you go along, as long as you have enough beds, so that you can reclaim those resources. But as you go further into your map, if you don't really need that construction material, then I would go ahead and keep those residences up because they do help your offensive and defensive strength. Now, my second tip is to use bowmen. So as you can see here, bowmen don't have to go close to your enemy in order to attack them. So if your enemy is using a lot of foot soldiers, oftentimes you can kill them before they can even get a chance to make even one strike. So I usually focus on mostly bowmen. The only reason I would actually use a foot soldier is to take your castles. And then they talk about squad leaders. I wouldn't even bother with squad leaders. They tend to get themselves killed pretty fast, and you need 3 gold bars, and your gold bars are usually in short supply. So I wouldn't bother with these squad leaders. I would really focus on bowmen. If you are playing the Romans, I would also recommend getting some healers and kind of keeping them back a little bit so that you can attack and then get yourself healed. Okay, my third tip is know when to retreat. Now, we're actually pretty much holding our own pretty well here, but if you're starting to get low in strength and you see the enemy has way more people than you do, then you can go ahead and click the Alt button and move your people back. That will tell them to stop attacking and retreat or do whatever you just told them to do. Now, I am talking mostly about playing against the computer, but you'll see that some of the soldiers will actually kind of forget about you, and some of them will follow you. But that's okay, because there's a lot fewer of them. And then you can go ahead and pick off the remaining ones without getting killed. You see that these 3 people are much easier to handle than that big horde of guys. And now my soldiers are looking a little bit wary. You see that a couple of them have red or yellow. If you're playing with the Bowmens, then you can get healers. I would usually keep them back at a safe distance, and then in between battles you can have them heal your soldiers. In this case, I'm playing the Trojans, so I would recommend having a couple of healers' quarters and bringing your soldiers to the healers. Just gonna place them in front, and your battle-weary soldiers will get healed. And therefore, I would also recommend keeping your soldiers in kind of 2 squads, so you can have one squad being healed, and like you can see here, this other squad is at 100% strength and ready to go into battle. So you can see I brought my soldiers back and they are at the healers. I just kind of place them sort of in the middle, and the healers will slowly take care of them. Now, to be honest, the healers are not the most efficient, so you may need to get a couple people that you see need healing and move them a little bit closer to the healers. Now, the other thing that can help you decide whether you should pull back is to go ahead and look at your statistics. And here you can see the number of soldiers that your enemy has and that you have. You can see in your map, we are red. So that means we here are Rutherford, and we have a lot less soldiers than all the others, but way more soldiers than the Dark Tribe. So this tells me that I don't need to pull back too much. It's safe for me to go looking for some trouble. My 4th tip is to fine-tune your control over your soldiers. Now, I've already showed you how I like to have 2 squads at least of soldiers, and how I keep track of it is to actually put them into different groups. So you see they have this sidebar groups button. You can click on it and assign 9 different groups of soldiers. So in order to assign people to a group, all you need to do is select who you want and then click Control and then select which group you want to assign them to. So in this case, I'm going to assign these guys to group 3. So now every time, I want these guys. Oh wait, no, I want group 3. It's really easy to select who you want. I'll often do one group of Bowmen and then a second group of either foot soldiers, or if I have them, healers if we're playing the Bowmens, and then have like, let's say 9 might be my healers, number 1 might be my Bowmen, and that way I can keep them separate. And here I've actually assigned the bottom groups to my gardeners so I can keep track of them, and if I see that they start getting attacked, then I can immediately call them back very quickly without trying to find where they are. And I've already talked about this briefly. You can use the Alt button to force your soldiers to do something. So if they're trying to attack, you'll notice that you can't really tell them to go elsewhere, but if you use the Alt button, no matter what, they will go there and they will not attack. If you just want them to hold their position, let's say if they are going closer to enemy territory, let's say, you can use this hold position button. That's really helpful. I find they still move a little bit, but at least it prevents them from really chasing the enemy down when you don't want them to. So my 5th tip is to focus on what kind of resources you have before you decide what kind of soldiers you want. So if you are on a map where you have a ton of gold resources, then for sure I think it makes a ton of sense to get only level 3 soldiers who do need 2 bars of gold in order to recruit. But if you have lots of those, then no problem. If you're a little bit short in gold, let's say you only have 1 gold mine, then I would not focus on this, because as soon as a soldier dies, then that's essentially 2 bars of gold gone. Instead, I would focus on eye catchers. One eye catcher is going to improve the attack strength and the defensive strength of all of your soldiers at once, with just however many gold that you use for those. So if you're limited on resources, then focus on eye catchers and not soldiers. If on the other hand, you are kind of limited on space, maybe you don't have a ton of stone, let's say, then maybe it doesn't make sense to focus on that, and it makes sense to focus more on people. Similarly, I would think about, let's say if you're short on wood for some reason, that doesn't really make sense. Let's say you are really short on stone. So eye catchers tend to use a lot of stone. So in that case, I would not focus on eye catchers. I would focus on creating lots of soldiers. Basically, you're going to want to make use of whatever resource you have most of, and whatever you don't have too many resources on, make sure to save those and use it where it will make the most impact. Okay, those are my 5 tips for using the battle system in Settlers 4. I hope those were helpful to you if you're planning on playing this super fun old school game. If you did find that helpful, then make sure to give this video a like and make sure to subscribe to my channel to catch the other videos on the Settlers 4. And if you have more tips on the battle system, then make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below. I'll catch you next time. Bye.